Why Now podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Day of my life winning the last fight. It was amazing just to lift everyone's spirit. The first day of tournament, gold in 60 kilograms, Ashley Mackenzie. I felt so happy. I was lost for words.
Welcome to the DJ Scottos What Why Now podcast, where I'll be inviting special guests onto my show to ask some questions about their life and success stories. For this episode, I've invited another special guest, where we're finding out what it was like growing up as a child in London, nearly dying after heart surgery at the age of 18 months, being diagnosed with ADHD and the impact it's had on his life, how he found judo, winning a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, appearing on reality programs like Big Brother, being a dad, the impact of being a TikTok creator, plans for the future, plus much more. I am really excited to introduce our very special guest today. Let's make some virtual noise for Ashley Mackenzie, aka Ashley Judo.
You're right, guys.
Thank you, Ashley. Welcome. Firstly, thank you so much for joining my podcast. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Look, so I have been a bit cheeky before doing the podcast, and so get people to ask you some questions. So I've sent some in to me, by the way. There were thousands. So first question was, what would you tell your younger self, and where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
What I would tell my younger self, I still wouldn't be able to do purely for the factors I've got ADHD and my behavioural problems when I was younger. But I would just tell myself to try to do like reading and writing more.
Yeah.
I hate it now, but I would tell myself, my younger self especially, because I struggle with it so much. I struggle with people's names on live. I give away so much percentage of my business purely for the fact is I can't do registers. And if I know if I'd learned to read and write when I was younger, I'd be more successful now in my life.
And I can relate. And by the way, as you know, and we'll be talking a lot about ADHD during this podcast, but I can relate to that in many ways. And we'll get a bit deeper into that because the impact that's had on not just your life, but people that have ADHD. And hopefully during this podcast, people will learn a lot about this because it's not easy. The other part of this was a bit cheeky because I did ask two questions, but where do you sort of see yourself in the next sort of 5 to 10 years?
It's such a crazy time in my life at the moment. I'm on so many different platforms, pushing every day, and I don't know. I see myself eventually, I'd like to say happily engaged and married, but as life goes on, it gets crazier, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. At the age of 35, I'm happy with my little girl. She's my world, and as long as she's safe, and I know she'll always have money because of my ex, but in terms of making a life for her, as long as her life's all right, I couldn't tell you where my life is going to be in 5. I could end up in Jamaica. I could end up in Paris. I could end up still on TikTok. I just don't know where. My life is so up and down at the moment. I could not tell you where I'll be in 5 years. I have no clue.
And you are quite open, by the way. I've got to say, being a fellow TikToker who supports yourself and many other people, you are very open. You're like an open book in some ways, and I guess that will come on to a bit more about that, the challenges that faces being on the camera or in the public eye. The other question we had was, what are your thoughts about young streamers like yourself sacrificing having a social life at times on TikTok?
I do think it's at times mentally draining. I think you can. I've never been a jealous type, but I do look at other creators, and I I see other creators who don't do much to entertain, but then gets um a lot out of it. And I sometimes question, am I doing things right streaming? Am I not doing enough funny stuff? But I do see myself as one of the funny ones on the app, and I do see myself. I will try my hardest to entertain us, but then there's a lot of manipulation on the app. There's a lot of, so I'd say to a young streamer, just be careful with others in terminology of there is people going through bad times and come to watch your live. I'd also say be careful of other creators. Um, Other creators would use you to benefit their self. I feel that I've gone through that. I feel I know my true friends on the app. I know the people who truly had me on the app. But the app's a big game, you know. It's a big game of who's got the biggest supporter, who's got the bigger team, and it's a big playground with people who've got big badges, and it's sometimes I wish I never went on it.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
yeah,
generally wish I never found TikTok. Is taken over most of my life. It stresses me out sometimes, but then the benefits of the gaining money, I've made a lot of money on it, and I won't sit back and lie to anyone. I've made I've made a killing on it, and
yeah,
I think that's what every single person for me comes on, and when I first come on, I came on for fun, and some days I do it because I know people want to see me and I know I make someone happy.
yeah,
And I don't come on for myself anymore sometimes.
yeah,
I come on for other people, you know.
yeah.
But then you can definitely see within my eyes if I'm there having fun or I'm just there to entertain. And I've gone I've gone over 10 battles of just doing dares after dares, everyone laughing in my chat, and me getting not even making a tenner.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it works in mysterious ways, this app. That's what I'd say to people.
Last question on the we had on this was you've obviously been on some of the TikTok page recently for being around some events that have been up the boxing and stuff, and you've been called out and stuff. So I know you've done judo. So people sort of asking was how transferable is that into boxing, and if you could potentially have a boxing match, have you got coming up? Who's on your target list?
Honestly, I don't. I honestly, I really, really don't have beef with anyone. I know Rambo's tried to give it to me a couple of times, but deep down, he's messaged me like saying it's all love. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to say that on live. I don't need to. He messages me saying it's all love, bro, and maybe it's just for the entertainment.
Yeah,
You know, I don't have. I'm not maliciously hating anyone. I don't. There's no one. That the person that I want to fight is Pulley. I think he knows that, and I know that. We've got mutual respect for each other. But if there's anyone that I'm going to take out his jaw, it's definitely going to be Pulley. But I want it to be on a misfit card.
yeah,
They talk. There's a lot of talk, but there's never.
yeah.
I mean, even the most hated. Like I was with Live Fest with him, and he talks a big game. I mean, one drink goes down my throat. It's just a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
I drunk Rambo. I don't know who the fuck did he think he was, like calling everyone out, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, later, bun this. And I just got in a ring, like respectfully. If I knew he was running towards me, I'd have thrown him out the ring.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him. I was blinded by the security, and that's why I wanted the first security to get out of my way. I said to him, "But he's gonna come, and I'm the one who's gonna get pushed." And you're going to be stopping me from doing anything back. So I said, get out of my face.
Right. So listen, thank you, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. These are more like icebreaker kind of questions. So look, yeah, so firstly, let's take us back to your childhood. Obviously, I understand you were born in Queen's Park.
Yeah, I grew up in Mozart Estate in Queen's Park. I've always been around there. My parents are still living there. But yeah, childhood it was fun for me. You know, I was very the ill child when I was young. And not a lot of people know that about me, but I was a very ill child.
Actually, talking about that, we nearly lost you, right? around 18 months old, what you've been told. How close was you to dying?
Well, my mum would always, every now and then, give me mouth to mouth, and she was wondering why I was stopped breathing. So she had taken me to A&E, or I'd say doctors, whatever, a couple times, and they were like, "No, it was just, don't worry about it." And then they had to, they actually scanned and everything, and I had a hole in my heart. So I was
Wow.
diagnosed with chronic heart disease. It was like basically a hole in my heart. That was at 18 months, and then growing up from that. Um, what I didn't realize until about 3, 4 years ago, until my mum said to me, but I've got, I think, 1.5 kidneys as well. I had my
Wow.
tonsils out. I ain't got tonsils at the moment. I got them out when I was younger. I used to have hearing aids as well, and I used to have epileptic fits as well. So when I was young, all the way up to 11, I was in special school due to my behaviour. I wasn't diagnosed when I was young, but they knew I had something. So before I went into being diagnosed, I was already in special school because I was like flat out, I had it. And then obviously I got put into a psychiatric unit for 6 months, and I can honestly say it was the worst 6 months of my life.
God, that must have been awful. Like,
I it,
why was it
I
six
think
months, by the way? Why was it
I,
6 months?
it was 6 months to diagnose what I had. So when I
Right.
came out of there, I had OCD, in terms of like you'll always see me with like black, or everything's color coordinated, or like I can't wear Nike with Adidas, or normally my stuff are in like orders. Um, in terms of OCD. In terms of ADHD, well, you know what that is.
Yeah.
And it. I would say it was hard because I knew my mum was leaving me. I knew my family were leaving me. Um, and all I tried to do was try to do the best for them. I tried to behave, but I couldn't. Um, and I think it was harder because my brother was so good in school or in primary school. So I was trying to look up to him, tried to be him, but I couldn't. I tried to succeed in English and in say nursery, not nursery, primary school, and I just couldn't. I didn't
Yeah.
have it in me. Um, so going to the psychiatric unit, I knew by on a Friday at like around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, if you didn't get approached, you knew you weren't going home.
Wow.
So there was a couple weekends when I just I just lost my shit. And there was a thing called like jacuzzi room. It's called jacuzzi room. It's called Colonel Gardens, it was called. And there was one night I just flipped, and I was in there all night, and I can remember the 3 bars. And what it was is it was a padded room, so you can't hurt yourself. And I just started attacking people because I just blew my lid. Like I blew my lid. Like I thought this was me done. I'm never gonna see my parents for like 6 months. I was young. I was about 9, 10, and I it it for me it was very. I couldn't live in my own head because I knew it was my fault. So for me, it was I would try to make my mum proud
Yeah.
and my brothers, and but I knew I couldn't with when it came to education. I couldn't
Yeah.
be like my brother.
And I guess that coming on to the next part of this, judo started. Was I understand there was an incident with Pokemon cards, and I understand someone tried to take it from you or whatever it was.
I had finished and come out the psychiatric unit around, I reckon, 9, 10, and when I was 11, I was just playing on the streets. Me and my friends and a group of kids come up, and like I said to you, I had epileptic fits then as well. So I wanted to be like Prince Nazim. I really wanted to. I used to love fighting,
Yeah.
but I couldn't bang my head because obviously epileptic fits. If you get hit in the head, you can. So I remember having like a Charizard card, and I remember the geezer taking it. I just whacked him. I was like, "This ain't. I'm taking that card back, bro." And he threw me, and I was like, "What?" I thought I was in a Jackie Chan movie. I said, what the Ross is going on here?" I was going to take the card again. He flipped me, and I just ran home. I was so injured. I was like, "Oh my god, my back, my neck," and it was AOL back then. It was like the old internet. I remember put throwing and judo come up, and I was like, "Mum, like, talk to me. What it is? Like, could I do it? Because I'm sure that's what he did. Like, it was like that Karate Kid scene moment, like when, and I'm just like, I'm sure this is what the geezer did to me." And we went to the judo club that Friday. I said to my mum, I swear that's that little fucker who took my card. And it was. He actually did judo and we become
Wow.
really good friends. Name's Archibald Mensah.
Wow.
Really
Wow.
good friends. And I just that's my mum said, is he gonna have epileptic fits? He went, no, if anything, we tried to control the head. We never like part of judo is you learn how to break fall, you learn how to fall properly without banging your head and that. And he was like, we'll make sure we go through it with Ashley. And in that kind of time in my life, like I said to you, I was getting excluded from special school at least 2, 3 times a week, running out
Wow.
of sessions, having fights with kids, running up trees, throwing things at teachers, stealing shit, going in front of the whole queue. Like we got year 11s and I'm year like 7 and I'm just jumping in front of the whole queue, starting fights, flicking food, like you name it, I did it, you know what I'm saying?
When did you realise that judo wasn't going to be a hobby? This was going to be more than that.
I think I realized in my first tournament, I'd never seen my mum and my brothers so happy to be around me. It was a moment when I knew school and the outside life, my normal life, was never good in the sense of I knew I'd be in trouble for doing something in my house or I was always in trouble for something that I caused, should we say. I came back from a tournament and I won a gold, and it was a moment of peace for me. And I
Yeah.
thought, if I can just keep doing this thing, judo, and winning these medals, my mum would love me and so would my brother.
How old was you when you won your first tournament?
It's first couple months. I
Really?
done
Wow.
I done
Wow.
a beginners tournament, um, and yeah, I won it. I won a
Wow.
beginners tournament straight
That's
away.
amazing. That is amazing. Let's talk about the at your first Olympics in London, 2012, which obviously is massive. Being you're from London at the time, was probably Great Britain.
Well, I was so young, and before even that point, British judo, I had so much problems with British judo. I've been banned from the sport. My face, London boy, light skin. I didn't fit the sport. I knew that I did better than the guy number 2 at this point. I knew I got further in the tournaments, but I never knew it was solidified. They could pick any one of us to go. So I remember coming home from college, and the only reason I went college was because your mum would get paid like £50 a week if you were still in education.
Mm.
I never went. Um, I'd just do judo the weekends. I'd just get out of the house at like 8 o'clock and just go around my mates and chill. So, because I was never going to college just for my mum, really, when I
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
When I came home, I remember my mum saying, "Oh, there's a brown letter waiting for you." And I could see her crying a bit. So I thought I was in trouble with the police. Thought, what have I been caught with? What's going on? I opened a letter and it said, Ashley Mackenzie, you'll be representing Great Britain under 60 kilograms in 2012. And
Wow.
a, a relief of me putting my mum and my brother through so much stress when it comes to judo, when it's come to life. I thought this was my way of saying thank you, them coming to watch me. And in that moment, it was just a relief of everything that I've trained for and done within the sport of judo. Like I'm gonna go to the Olympic Games. Like it's a massive achievement in my family. And as much as I was 22, I was young, trying to have fun. I never took it serious. Even after that, I think I went out the weekend after, like going out. So I never took it serious. So as much as the Olympic Games were my first Olympic Games, I never took it serious. And I went there and I had the world champion first fight. I fought him well, really well. I was pissed off that I lost, but I think when you're 22 and you get to the first Olympic Games in London, being a London boy, it's it's it it's unexplainable. You know, I fight the first day and I got 2 weeks of partying. You know,
So,
it's
so there was a bonus of losing, but you got to party for 2 weeks, which is
that's how I took it.
yeah, and that's
You
how you
know?
got to look at it sometimes, I guess, with losses. I'll come on to losses in a bit, actually. But what I was going to say with that though, would you say that was probably one of your favourite ones because it was in London, or were there any other ones that were better? I take out the way what you might have won, but actually the actual games itself, the way it's organised, and
It was a bit of peaceful harmony that it was in London because all the other tournaments and the bigger tournaments were not in London. So respectfully, um, I didn't have to pay a fortune for my family to come. They could just sort of took a tube and they were there. And I think, and I always say this in most podcasts or interviews I ever had, I feel that doing the sport that I love in front of the people that loved me would always be the best games. And it was London. All of my people were there, all my club mates, all my peers, because it was London.
yeah.
And I think doing the sport that I love, what's made my life is gave me the kid that I've got today, the life that I've got today, the friends that I've got today. In in front of them, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And you think about the people that at that Olympics. I always think about people that they mentioned in other sports, like Anthony Joshua wins a gold at the London, and then there are lots of others, but it was that was massive. And by the way, if anyone that's listening to this right now, I couldn't get a ticket. For God on my heart, I really wanted to go. I ended up getting a ticket. Is it Paralympics they called it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I got a ticket for the Paralympics that was after the main one
yeah.
for swimming. And I remember going to that and seeing the buzz, the atmosphere at that one as well, and seeing these swimmers like with no arms and no legs swimming. It was like, honestly, it wasn't just, obviously, that was amazing. I can't believe how you can even do that. But secondly, the crowd, I don't know, I've not been to the main one, but that was crazy. The atmosphere was amazing. So I can only imagine if it could only be maybe the same or even better. But I was so like gobsmacked how amazing organised it was, and how hard it was to get a ticket. So well done to you, by the way. So you said you didn't take it seriously, but you still made it to the Olympic Games. You then went to the 2014 Commonwealth Games and you only won a gold, right? What did you do in those 2 years to get to that, to get to where you got to Olympic Games? And I don't know if you went in there being one of the favourites. Explain the story a little bit from 2012 to 2014 and what that meant to you winning that
I
gold.
think there was a program that come out in 2000 and I think 11 or 12, and it was called Bad Boy Olympian, and it was with me, Jessica Ennis, and Tom Daly. And this program got watched so much on BBC. It's on YouTube now, about my life, about me having ADHD and all this stuff. And I remember Big Brother calling my agency and saying to me that we want you to go into the big Celebrity Big Brother house in 2012. So you got to imagine that, like, I'm a young 22-year-old. I've gone from being broke to like having a tiny bit of money coming out of Olympics, the last day of the Olympics, like we're talking the final day of Olympics, me getting absolutely leveled, then that early morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I had to go from 4 o'clock in the morning, get a taxi back to my house. I was still smashed, like change shower. Manager got me back, change shower, then to go to Big Brother hotel till 7 o'clock that night. I remember coming home and saying to my mum, Mum, I haven't told you yet, but I'm not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to the Big Brother. She was like, you're fucking kidding me. I said, I swear to you, you need to watch the program tomorrow night. I'm going to be on it. She went, you're not fucking doing it. I said, Mum, I'm going to Big Brother. She was like, no, you're fucking not. I said, you're not fucking embarrassed yourself. I said, Mum, I got to go. I'm going. She's like, okay, no worries. So I'm glad I told her. And then, yeah, and I went into there, and then straight after, it was like, I came out Big Brother and I had so many like appearances, calendars, so many master classes. It went from like being an average show to being seen in the eye magazines. That lasted full year, you know. And then the Commonwealths, and I thought to myself, in the moment they got announced, it's it was in Birmingham or it was in Scotland. I think it might be Scotland, Glasgow. I thought this is an amazing opportunity to literally. I couldn't do it in the Olympics for my mum and my brothers and my family, but I could definitely win gold here. Like, let this be. If they remember me ever again and I never go to any more Olympics, let them remember this moment. I trained hard, and obviously I was representing England. I wasn't representing Scotland or because it's the Commonwealth, so you represent England. And I remember getting to the finals. I remember turning to my mum, and I could just see the passion in her face in the finals. And I was down the score. I wasn't actually winning. I was down the score. And I remember dropping under him, and just driving. And I got like at the highest score. And the relief of winning a big medal, um, it was crazy. It was emotional. It was
Unbelievable.
really emotional.
You can't buy that. You can't buy that. Okay, that moment is like when you get that when you literally just finish that battle and you know that you've won. Like, what's your immediate moment is obviously that you've made your family proud, which you've said, right? That was what it's all about. Was what else come into your mind? There's anything else come in your mind at that point, like what's about to happen? Know that you've won all that hard work. Anyone that maybe said you were never going to do this, Ashley, you're never going to make anything of your life. I don't know. Did any of those moments happen? Because I used to have that bit.
The only doubt that's gone through my career is people that who are in the British team who I wouldn't say wouldn't believe that I've done it because I've always been number one in it's obvious I was always number one, but it's the people that have tried to get me out and tried to get me banned because their player is their number two, and it's all them people. It's basically a fuck you lot. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Wow. Honestly, that must have been an amazing moment. So would you mind? Obviously, I know things have changed since then, but like I was wondering, like, could you like maybe explain and maybe what a day in the life of Ashley Judo when you are in full training mode? Like, because I don't think people realise how hard this is. Would you mind maybe walk through what your day would be like most days?
Most days when was training, so I'm gonna make sure everyone's clear on that. When I was training,
Yeah,
my week would look like Monday morning fighting session, Monday afternoon weights. You got the rest of the evening off unless you're coaching. Tuesday is run or like S&C technique training, then randori in the evening. So that's three different ones. Wednesday, fighting session in the morning, then S&C at 4 o'clock. So like either shuttles or Thursday is the same as Tuesday. So it's technique training, S&C, and on top of that, a fighting session in the evening. Friday is just a technique session in the morning and then an S&C session in the evening. And then you have the weekend off. Now, bear in mind, there's some people within that week that what I do now, what I do present today, wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, teach schools business from 6:30, so seven till half 7, quarter to 8, then come back to the judo club and for 10 o'clock have to be on the mat.
wow.
There's people that do the session like that, do a session in the morning, session in the afternoon, and in the afternoon, they have to go to the after school club. So this was all fitted in my training. Not only that, there would be that, and then me going to see my little girl, me preparing for competition, me trying to sustain an income for me to get to that competition because I never got paid by British Judo. I done it all self-funded because I didn't want to be part of that team. I didn't want them to say, we made him. It was I made me. My club made me. So it was all of that and more. Making weight, food, dietary, girlfriends, exes, baby mums. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow. See, that's why I asked that question, because I know people realise that what sacrifices you have to make and to go through that whole process. And but when do you like ramp that up a bit, going up to the Commonwealth Games? Like, where do you have to like maybe go even harder, or do you like, I don't know, how do you manage that?
All them sessions stay the same, and the sessions get harder. So there's a maintenance, strength, power. All of that goes up. It all works in little zigzags. So power will go up, strength will go up, S&C might go down a bit, and do you know what I mean? It will all work in your own program. Because what I'm doing is not what you're gonna do. I'd say you're 90 kilos. I'm 60 kilos. You're not gonna have the same program as me because I need to make weight. So I need to run. You're not going to run at 90 kilos. You might just want to lose a bit of power so you might drop 2 kilos, but I'm going to drop 4 kilos. So your program is not the same as mine.
Yeah.
So everyone varies. So I'd say on competition week, mine went lower because I didn't like to feel like I'm doing weights or feel like I'm doing power the week leading up. So I just do a run every day, every morning.
Yeah.
And I do different sessions, pick up different sessions I was doing. Wouldn't do all of them.
And because of that, obviously, does that has that given you that self discipline, like in your own personal life now? Like, that discipline
No,
that you had to give?
I think at the moment I'm with due respect, I'm lost.
Yeah,
I'm very lost in life.
yeah.
I'm lost in relationships. I'm lost on TikTok. I'm like I wouldn't not say lost in family because I know I've got them there, but I I finishing judo is I've lost my mind. Like I've not dealt with it. I've never dealt with it in the right way. I've
They
always
do say
gone.
a lot of sports, but do that's quite a thing that people say a lot in different sports, that that people don't get that sport of when they leave to go back to real life, that there isn't that help within that,
Yeah,
maybe
like I
that
said,
particular sport.
I've got amazing people on the app, off the app. I've got coaches. I've got my mum. I've got my brothers. I've got friends that understand, but it's easy said, call it picking up the phone than actually doing it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I'd pick a drink up and I'd just forget about it.
yeah,
If I didn't have this bet on the days that I'm off, I could go and get a can.
yeah.
And that's me being honest with everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's just, this is
It's
the
it's
reality.
it's
Yeah,
getting me out of my own head, and I think I I go on TikTok and I believe that I try to entertain more so as well, just to get out of my own thought process,
yeah,
of knowing that it's the end of judo, you know.
yeah. But your work ethic. But one thing it does sound like is your work ethic hasn't changed. If like the way that you're using this as a different outlet, but you still need to have that work ethic, that kind of like, I'm going to still like go do my coaching in the mornings, or schools that you talked about earlier. You're still your ethic of working hasn't changed. And I want to ask for that, really, actually, where does that come from? Does that come from like your mum or your brothers, or like does anybody that you've I guess inherited that from, or you looked up to people in your life?
I think it's a very of all, my brother's very work ethic. I think if you I'm saying this, but it's so naive myself. I rely on yourself, you know what I mean? But I'm on an app relying on other people, so it's very controversial. But yeah, I think you put in the hours and you put in the time, and you shall endly get the result. And I think for me, I wouldn't want to ever. There was a saying: when you step on a mat, could you look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I've done everything that I can do"? And I think that's my motto. Can I put as much more hours in TikTok, much more entertainment, or can I go to wake up do my classes? Can I do at the end of the year? Because I want a house. Have I done enough for this? And as long as I can look in the mirror and say, yes, I have, that's what somewhat would make me feel relieved. And that's where my work ethic comes from.
Yeah.
Within me, within what my brother and my dad was like. And as well, I have to provide. I provide for my little girl, you know. I don't go there and sponge off them. They've got my credit card. She's got my credit card. She pays for my daughter, you know. I give my own credit card. She can do what she wants with it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's amazing. I'm going to talk about your daughter in a bit, actually. But obviously, not you've done all right. But was there a time when you thought, you know what, I can't do it. I'm going to give up. What was it that kind of kept you going?
I don't think there's ever a time where I've gone, I'm gonna quit. I think I was too deep into judo, or too deep into knowing that if I quit, I'll end up just selling drugs or some shit.
Yeah.
Because I can't live. I don't have the facilities to live a normal life anymore. I don't have the tools. I can't wake up and work for someone to someone tell me what to do. Like, I'm not ignorant and I'm very polite, but I couldn't work in Sainsbury's. I couldn't work in a normal office. I can't sit down for more than 10 minutes. Like, I've been playing with cards now. I can't just sit here. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I have no choice but to continue.
Yeah. What's been the toughest loss you've experienced in your career, and how did you bounce back from it? Obviously, you won the gold, right? But what was your toughest loss on the way? You look back and think, oh, that hurt. That one.
My first national medal. I got bronze and I lost in the semi-finals. And it's the only tournament my dad's ever come and watch. My dad's hardcore Jamaican. I remember crying. It was my first year of doing judo. I wasn't meant to be at the nationals. They graded me more grades than I should have been graded. Just for the fact is of they wanted me to do my first nationals. And it was my first bronze and my only bronze in nationals. And the rest of them have been gold. But that I remember looking at my dad and him like, why I'm to you? What are you crying for? And I'm looking at him thinking, you piece of shit. Like, not even like fucking. And oh, mate, in the bronze fight, I absolutely tore this guy a new arsehole. I was so angry. But it was so devastating to lose in front of my dad. It's the only tournament he didn't come and watch me do Olympics.
Right.
Literally when I was young, like 11. It's the only tournament he's ever watched. And I wish I'd won it.
Yeah. And you think you might have come to other ones if you did win?
You would never know. I'd never know.
Yeah.
The What Why Now podcast with DJ Scottos.